You're listening to Arsenal Pass, a flesh and blood podcast for players by players. And all about strategy, leveling up, and the latest news in the world of Wraith. Welcome to Arsenal Pass.
Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 182 of Arsenal Pass. Hayden Dale here, as always, joined by my special guest this week, Mr. Matt Rogers, all the way from the UK, joining us. Matt, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Always a pleasure to be on.
Second time back on the pod, third time back on the channel. You're making it a regular appearance. You're going to rival Tarek soon, you know. He's probably like 20-odd episodes or something.
Yeah, well, it's certainly going to take me a little while there, and I'm sure he likes to get his pretty face on a few more times anyway. So, I'm okay with Tarek being at the front there.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Well, you just come off the back of the Calling Lyon this past weekend in France, where you actually made a bit of a run, just narrowly missing top 8. Was it a win in last round that you had, or was it kind of what did it look like for you at the Calling Lyon?
No, so I was playing. Basically lost my second to last round to be out of contention. The last round was just playing for top 16. It was a lot of fun. I lost playing against Aurora in a very, very close and really good game. So I can't fault anything. I can't be too upset about it. We made top 16 and yeah.
Yeah, nice. And what did you play?
I played Enigma. So I played a interesting Enigma list. Tarek and I played the same list. Basically very similar to most Enigma builds, but then also had a sideboard package for the aggro matchup with Reality Refractor, which is just an incredible math card. And it's quite funny how usually in Enigma versus aggro, you're playing really defensively and blocking up and trying to survive and not always having a great time. But with Reality Refractor, you're a lot more proactive and trading damage with them and just trying to outpace them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Enigma. I think Enigma's going to be the story of our pod, to be honest, because Calling Lyon was ultimately won by Enigma, right? And it had a pretty good weekend across a few events, which we'll kind of get to the main pod. What was Calling Lyon like? This is the second French calling, I think, that they've had. How did it kind of go? I think it was about 100 and something players. I actually don't really know the breakdown or much about Lyon other than catching a little bit of the coverage.
Yeah, so I think it was 400 and something players.
Oh, wow.
I'm
okay,
not
way more than I
100%
thought.
sure on the number. Yeah. I think it was a pretty big one. I could be wrong there though. I'm just grabbing numbers from memory, but I'm pretty sure it was around there. I think they were aiming for 512, but they didn't quite hit it. It was a really cool event. There were some ups and downs. The event was incredibly smooth. Our events run honestly some of the best flesh and blood events I've played in the world. I think they all of the rounds super smooth. The event's really well organized. I think Saturday we finished before 4 o'clock.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's honestly incredible. It's like another level when it comes to TOing events. But the venue was something to be desired. It was sort of in the middle of a rural, surrounded by farmland, kind of in the middle of nowhere, and Uber drivers had a lot of trouble.
Right.
So it was this big events venue. We were in like hall 2.3 or something. And so there were like 10 different entrances, but 9 of them were locked throughout the time. So like if an Uber driver came, they, only had one entrance that they could get through. So what we found time and time again, and what became the big meme of the event, was that Uber drivers would go to an entrance, it would be locked. They'd go to another entrance, it would be locked, and then they'd cancel. And many players, there were, sort of parties in the car park about it, were getting 4 or 5 cancellations and walking around for an hour or so before they could get an Uber. So it was that part wasn't great.
Yeah. At that point, you're playing Uber roulette in the car park. Probably not ideal, to be honest.
Yeah,
Um,
the way we managed to get Ubers most of the time was when an Uber came to drop somebody else off, we'd chase them down and be like, "Can we give you cash? Can you
oh
take us
gosh.
back?"
Yeah, okay, so not ideal. But all in all, I guess good to see a good turnout in France for these callings. And in Europe in general, I mean, I think time and time again, Europe has been pretty consistent with the turnouts and callings, which, it's not always the same around the world. So it's good to see that Europe
Yeah.
is pretty consistent with those callings in a brand new format, which, yeah, we'll get into the metagame. I guess, for you this week in Flesh and Blood has been the Calling Lyon, of course. Have you managed to play any other Flesh and Blood? Have you played any drafts in the lead up to Osaka and getting ready for Worlds?
No, I haven't yet. I haven't played any limited this week. It's just been classic constructive with Enigma. But I'm really, really enjoying the classic constructive format for now. I
Yeah.
know that it's about to change, and I know that Dash is. I've watched a few games with Dash, and I'm like, oh dear. But pre-Dash, it's great.
Yeah. Did you manage? You might not have. It's only just come out. I guess the dev talk this week with James White and Brian Gottlieb. They make reference to, the banning of the books, and then talk a little bit about cerebellum processor, and go, it's fine. It's spread over 2 turns that you draw the cards.
Or 3 turns, or
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sometimes 4, and that's when you
Yeah,
just play
sometimes 4.
6 and 7 card hands, and then you get the second one down, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll have to agree to disagree on that one.
Yeah. I'm in your canoe on that one. Personally, I've been playing a decent amount of Flesh and Blood this week. Not so much limited either, actually, post Sydney. Although I'm really keen to get back into draft. Mostly been playing CC, and yeah, definitely played a lot of games against Dash.io, which that's been fun.
So you've definitely lost a lot of games against Dash.io, I
Yeah.
guess,
Oh yeah, I've been losing a
is
lot
the
this week.
assumption. Yeah.
Hey, but still
Yeah.
trying. Still gonna find a way. Gonna find ways.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a moment. The news. Want to lead with just a big congrats to Pablo. Bit of a juggernaut. Is Pablo currently I guess he's got to be seen as one of the best players in the world, right? He's been on a pretty incredible run the last 18 months to 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much since he
Since
started the
inception,
game, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Pablo is without doubt one of the best players in the world. We're not gonna kind of argue it straight down
Yeah.
between him and Hamilton for whoever the current GOAT is or whatever, but yeah, you'd be lying if you didn't say he's one of the best, most consistent players in the world, and he is just an incredible card player.
Yeah, he's going to soon chase down your tier 3 and up top 8s if you're not lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I managed to get enough of them early on to hold for a little while, but we're never gonna get able to keep that forever.
Keep the buffer. Just keep top 8ing nationals every year. Get a pro tour top 8. It'd be fine. It'd be no worries.
Yeah,
right.
sounds easy, right? Easy as that, huh?
Matt, the other reason we're going to talk Class Constructed and get into Commander Cookout and a few other things, but one of the big reasons that I was really keen to get you on the pod this week, apart from Leon and a bit of a catch up, is a bit of an announcement to make on the pod this week, which has been in the works for a little bit. So I'm gonna pass it over to Matt to share some exciting news, I think, around a new team that's coming out.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this one. So obviously I've been trying to put together teams in Flesh and Blood since the old days. We started off with Team Dragon Shield and then Team PCG Pass. And the hardest thing is getting sponsors on board to basically do something bigger. Everybody's able to do a few players and sort of test things out, and it's good fun. But we're always restricted on numbers. There's only so big that we can go off the wallet of one company. So what I'm really excited for, and what has been going on in the works, is I've been talking to Invasion. They're a Canadian store, an online store, and a huge. They're massively behind Flesh and Blood. They love the game. They love the players. They've already been supporting players like Yuki and Metallo and a few others in the past year or so as well. and they really wanted to do more. They wanted to get behind a bigger number of people and support more of their players. And PCG was in the same boat. We really wanted to, we've been supporting the PCG past players, and we really wanted to extend that out and do something like really, really meaningful in the flesh and blood with team play. So together, we've been in talks for a little while, and we've come up with a sponsorship, and we've managed to extend that out to a large number of players. So we've put together a team of 16 players, which will be a big sponsored team, Team PCG Invasion. So. Yeah, so it's a collaboration between PCG and Invasion, and the whole goal is to support competitive flesh and blood play, to support players, up and coming players, established players, to keep coming together in the flesh and blood through the common language of great games, to keep traveling to these big events, and to play together as a team.
One of the things I'm most excited about for this team is also the global nature of this team, which I think has been something that, over the past, even since Dragon Shield, right? That was always on your mind, but also with, like PCG Pass and trying to make that more global. And with 16 players, which is, a big roster, it also includes a lot of players from around the world, which I thought, maybe just to kind of spotlight that, like how many regions and what regions from the world have we got players coming from?
Yeah, so we've got Canada is where Invasion Store is, so that's sort of our biggest hub, and then we've got USA. We got some great players from USA, including the USA national champion. We've got Oceania, you and I, in the mix there, so we're kind of holding it up for this end of the world, and then we have some European players as well. So yeah, including top 8 Pro Tour players, and yeah, it very much is a global team.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and I think you're going to see us out there at Worlds, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do, and maybe bring some team rivalry back into the game. It's cooled down a little bit over the last 2 events, so looking to bring it back a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more that can be done with teams. I think Magic tried it with some Team Cup and some like certain things focused on team play specifically, and I think they did some positives and some things that weren't fully fleshed out. And I think that Flesh and Blood has a great opportunity to kind of pick up on the good parts of that and apply their initiative and ideas to really make something of it. I think with Flesh and Blood, the whole thing is about people coming together, right? And these teams are people that form lifelong friendships, literally coming together to play card games. So I think there's some really good synergies there, and I think that LSS can do more with it. And so a big part of Team PCG Invasion and what we're all doing together is to highlight that.
Yeah. Cool. Well, look out for the team at the World Championships. And look out for some of the team on the World Team Cup teams as well. Speaking of teams, including one Mr. Matt Rogers right here playing on Team New Zealand, right?
Yep, yeah. I'm playing on Team New Zealand. Tarek's playing on Team Canada. Evan's playing on Team USA. So we got a big mix. We're representing a lot of countries throughout this team as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. Awesome. Well, just rounding out the news post that announcement, exciting announcement. Just want to shout out, we've got a new Patreon podcast and video up there covering some decks for ProQuest season, especially for week 1, including Dash, Viserai, and Azalea. And then the big news this morning, Matt, Kraken's Aether Vein out the window. So you'll be starting to prepare for the Team Cup. Don't worry about Verdance anymore?
Yeah, well, just quickly before we move on from the team, I just wanted to add the last little shout out there, and that's to Arsenal Pass yourself as well. So you've been a big part of putting this together in the background and supporting this as well. And so without Arsenal Pass, this wouldn't have come together. So I really want to just shout that out as well, and thank you for your involvement in this.
Oh, thanks, man. I think it's honestly, it's it's just awesome to be a part of. And I think that's like the biggest thing is like, over the past few events, we've had this, I guess kind of loose formed team, a combination of groups of players from around the world since basically, I guess that kind of started to come together around like Worlds in Barcelona, right? And then for PTLA, we ended up in a much wider sort of Discord group where honestly people were just, pretty like-minded, really keen to jam games and play games and talk flesh and blood, and also be really open, with ideas. And I think that's one of the coolest things that Flesh and Blood has started to develop. I think in the early days, Flesh and Blood was very, I don't want to say insular, but people were very protective. People kept things, like under lock and key in smaller teams and things like that. And I think what we've kind of learned as you go along is that, the sort of the best way to build knowledge in a game that's so diverse with heroes and strategies, and also, it's a best of one format, is to just get a lot of great minds in there and get them in the mixer. And then also that just leads to new friends and new social interactions, new experiences together, things like that. Cool team dinners, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
it's sweet.
Yeah. I think traveling to these events as a big group of people and hanging out with a lot of different people is just honestly just fun. Like this is what I play card games for. I'm not as yeah, I'm not going to be focusing on becoming a Pro Tour champion or that ambitious in terms of results in the game. More, I play because I really enjoy the camaraderie and the getting together with friends and stuff, and it's the big driver for me. So, and so many of the people in our team are like-minded in that way. Many of them are competitive to the point where they do want to become a Pro Tour champion and a world champion and such as well. But we've got a really good mix, and people that are just both sides.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, I want to win a Pro Tour, but win, loss, draw, bad weekend, like being around people that I enjoy being around, I'm gonna have a great time. It's just the way. Like 100%. I think back between Worlds, LA, and Tokyo, those are 3 events I've traveled for most recently. Not gone well for me. I've had some pretty bad results. But I've had a great time because, you're there for the people and with the people. So, yeah, you know what it's all about. Tell me, though, Kraken's Aether Vein. It is now banned in Living Legend, effective now, or effective this weekend, I guess. Thoughts?
Yeah, definitely needed to be banned. I think in Living Legend format, I know that Tarek started testing a little bit, Evan started testing a little bit, Nick started testing a little bit, and most of these testings were individual, and all of them came to the same conclusion that Verdance with Krakens is just completely broken, and every single team is going to have it and have 2 other decks that are as focused on beating it as possible.
Yeah.
So it was going to warp the Living Legend metagame more so than I think any deck in Fab has ever warped anything. So not banning that would have been a huge mistake.
And I think, like, to be fair, Team World Cup, maybe you could get away with it a little bit because it's, you only register 1/3 of the team playing that deck, right? And then you enter into this weird kind of metagame of, well, what are the other 2 decks that have the best matchup into Verdance, but also don't fold into the other counters to Verdant? Like, that's at least semi-interesting. But there's a couple of events, including, I believe, a Battle Hardened before then that includes Living Legend, which would not at all be enjoyable with Verdant. The only reason you wouldn't play Verdance in those events is if you don't have the cards, basically.
Yeah. Or if you found a very specific counter,
sure, yes.
like that even is only good versus Verdance. It wouldn't even matter if it lost everything else.
I'm not sure what that is, though.
Yeah, I don't know either. But no, props to LSS. They identified that. They understand how their game works, and they very quickly banned it.
Yep. Which leads us on to November 11th is the next ban and restricted announcement, which follows the World Championship. So this leads us on to our Command and Cookout question. Great segue right here, which comes from the Arsenal Pass Discord. If you want to get your questions in for the Command and Cookout, you can do so. Drop them in the YouTube comments below. Let us know it's a Command and Cookout question. Email us at arsenalpassfab@gmail.com, or if you are, like Darkin, a Arsenal Pass Patreon member, you can drop it in the Discord there. And this question is, Should Cerebellum Processor be preemptively banned before the Armory deck is released? I've had 2 games today where my opponent averaged 19 and 26 value per turn in 5 and 3 turn games respectively. That's pretty low there, Darkin. The 19 was because I managed to block out for 3 turns before dying. Okay, there you go. I've got screenshots of these games if you're interested. Finding one is easy. And then they go on to say, finding one is easy, finding the second is easier, and the damage is far more offensive than Zen was. It's difficult to see how this card fits into the newly re-established design principles. What do you think, Matt?
Oh man, you're really throwing me in it here, aren't
I
you?
can go first if you want and give you my thoughts.
No, I can. I'm gonna make some enemies here. Yeah. I mean, I don't need to see any screenshots. I've seen games of Dash.io and I've experienced it firsthand. The damage output seems ridiculous. It may be more consistent, potentially stronger than Zen was, which is a pretty crazy thing to say. But yeah, like I guess my whole thing is that yeah, it doesn't really fit with the philosophy of banning all of the tomes and trying to make every card count and stuff. It does draw the cards over multiple turns, but the thing is, it's just too consistent at doing that for 3 or even 4 turns, and having that amount of cards and output and ability to synergize everything for that amount of time is pretty much the whole game. Like they're just gonna kill you. Um, so yeah, it seems incredibly powerful to me. There may be counters. I haven't started testing, so you know I'm not going to come out here and just say, look, this is broken and unsolvable, and LSS definitely have to ban it. They know more than me. They're certainly testing this internally, and they'll be making the correct decision. And that decision may be to not ban it. But from what I can see right now from firsthand, from just watching a few games, to me it seems like it's going to be a hard task to control this deck in the format.
Yeah, it's really interesting because in the dev talk, the latest LSS dev talk between Brian Gottlieb and James White, Brian almost kind of says, oh, you know, or kind of alludes to a card that maybe in Dash should be banned. And then James goes on to talk about High Octane, but I think that Brian was about to talk about Cerebellum Processor. I think both cards are honestly pretty egregious. And High Octane always kind of has been, but it's just the fact of where it's sat previously, you know, in the shell of more of Dash Inventor Extraordinaire. You were a little bit more limited to your payoffs to a degree. I mean, you know, with High Octane, Spark of Genius, fantastic. But outside of those 2 combinations, you know, a lot of time it was just a bit of extra damage or sort of mini combos with Plasma Purifier, which you're well versed with. You've done a lot of this before. You've done a lot of High Octaning in your time. But
Yeah, I have.
Cerebellum does add up quickly, and to Darkin's point, you know, you find 1, you find 2 pretty quickly. And when you link them together, that's, you know, that is equivalent to these kind of tone plays, if not, you know, actually it's better, right, at that point, because you're able to push through like 7 8 card hands with things like High Octane. So it's pretty, it's really, really strong, obviously. And I think one thing that to LSS's credit, right, I think, you know, it doesn't necessarily fly in the face of maybe the full philosophy around the tone piece around, you know, you get an immediate 2-for-1 return on that turn, but I think it maybe shows the limitations of that philosophy over the course of 1 turn as opposed to over the course of, say, like 3 to 4 turns of a game. I'll give them benefit of the doubt. You know, I think if we'll see what happens. And also, just with this being Mechanologist, you know, being class tied, I think is a significant more restraining factor than maybe something like Art of War, for instance. It is also in a deck where a lot of your action points come at the cost of the resource, which is your deck, right, in the form of boost. So I think, you know, there is those things that are the weaknesses and the things that are tied to inherently Dash and Mechanologist. But yeah, I would I would hate if it turns out that, you know, this is a similar mistake to Bonds of Ancestry again. Hopefully not.
I mean, I think there are some good plays that LSS can make. I would hate to be in their position right now because they're literally just launching a new product with this card, and you know you don't want to ban the card before the product comes out because you kill the product, but then you also don't want people to buy the product and then ban the card because then you know they're going to feel screwed over. So it's a really really tough situation to be in. I do think there are some plays though. I think LSS have done really well at doing a lot of the things that Wizards of the Coast have done well over the last 20, 30 years, and not doing any of the stupid things. And one thing that I think Wizards did quite well with the banning of what was it? It was around the Core Blade era. I think it was banned the equipment that put a big 5/5
Oh,
in or
Batterskull.
something like that. Yeah,
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 they
yeah,
banned
yeah.
Batterskull,
Batterskull, and
not
there
Core
was
Blade, not Core, whatever it's called. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's been a long time since I played
Me
Magic,
too.
but but I remember they made this banning, but they had a deck coming out that had the cards in it or whatever, and so the solution that they came up with was that this would be banned except for if the deck was kept in its exact configuration, which
Oh,
meant for like Friday Night Magics and stuff, you could buy this deck and play it.
yeah.
And you didn't have to worry that it was banned cards if you played it in its exact configuration. I feel like LSS could do the same thing with the Dash EO deck, is people could still buy it at Armory and play it in its exact configuration, but then they just couldn't use these new cards and competitive, super competitive Dash EO decks.
What about James White's point? I mean, one of the most, I guess, I'll say it again, egregious things about Cerebellum Processor is when it's paired with High Octane, because that is how you can,
Yeah.
if you don't have the action point available, you have to use Cerebellum Processor kind of at the end of your turn, or you have to pop Achilles. The way but to be fair, cranking off the top also gets you the action point. So, but one of the more consistent ways that you can do it on big turns is High Octane. So, is High Octane a better potential target, especially with IE Inventor Extraordinaire very much on the cusp of hitting Living Legend, potentially, reasonably likely in this ProQuest season.
Yeah, I think High Octane would be a smart move from them. I think banning High Octane, emergency banning that to sort of, but I would have to test the deck without
Yeah,
High Octane and see if it's still, like it could very much be like a Zen ban where you don't entirely ban Bonds of Ancestry and the deck's still just crazy.
yeah.
So I'm not sure if banning High Octane would be enough, but if their devs could sit down and figure that out and then make that and come to the conclusion that it is enough and then make that banning, I think that's very smart.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens next. I mean, in reality, there's now no scheduled ban until Monday, November 11th. So post World Championships in Osaka. So it would require an out of cycle, effective, like you say, emergency ban. So we'll see. I mean, we've got a couple of events. We've obviously got 2 weeks of ProQuest with the Dash IO deck, and I think we even have a Battle Hardened or a Calling like 2 weeks before Worlds. So we've got some stuff to I guess showcase either the deck and its power or counters. We'll see. Cool. Thank you, Darkin, for the question. And Matt, I think it's time to get into the main topic and talk a bit about Leon breakdown, but also a lot of events over the past weekend showcasing this Rosetta metagame. We saw the kind of first of this, I guess, the week before you were there, and in Sydney we had there was a Battle Hardened on day 2, and we got a little glimpse into what maybe CC would look like. But I think across Calling Lyon this weekend, we had a Battle Hardened in Milwaukee, we had a Battle Hardened in Tokyo. There is a lot of data points now to take a look at, and I thought kind of just to start with, let's just kind of take a look through these events, I guess the run of what happened, and then let's maybe dive into meta thoughts and where we think things are starting to shake out.
Okay. Yep.
So we'll hit Battle Hardened Tokyo first. I don't know if I have the full player count. I think it was around 90 odd players in Battle Hardened Tokyo. KO Armed and Dangerous was the most played deck, followed by Enigma and Florian, which is quite interesting. Florian showed out the week before with the Count Your Blessings Florian deck, and then we got the Twitter discourse about the doom of, oh no, Count Your Blessings is broken, which made people forget about Cerebellum Processor for a week.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's close to the expected metagame. I think Enigma is very, very good right now, and KO is a good strategy against Enigma, sort of. Like Enigma players aren't super stoked to sit down against a KO. It is close, so it does seem like a good way to attack the metagame, and it does seem like one of the one of the better aggro decks at the moment. And then Florian does seem like the best sort of mid-range deck at the moment. So it does, it looks like you've got all three there, right? So you've got Enigma as your more permanent base deck. You got KO as your aggro deck, and you've got Florian as your mid range deck. And I think those three are sort of popping up nearer the top there. So an expected metagame. And it'll be interesting to see kind of where it shapes out from there. Is Aurora going to take over KO as the premium aggro deck? And is Count Your Blessings going to become a problem or whatever? Personally, I don't think it will become a big
No.
problem. I think that with Enigma in the field, they really want to see any deck with Count Your Blessings, and they're probably just going to outgrind the value. It's good against certain things in the metagame, and I think that you see decks like that being very good at the start of a new metagame, because people are trying all of these different things and they haven't really figured out anti-fatigue package yet, or a way to go late against a deck that can gain a whole lot of life. So that'll come in the following weeks, and I think that Count Your Blessings will be very acceptable.
Yeah. It's always a thing, right? Start the meta on the fringes. This used to be the old Magic thing. Week one of a new meta game, just play red deck wins. Just play the best aggro deck, right? Just play the deck that plays the burn spells and the creatures, because you can't really screw it up too badly. In Flesh and Blood, I think you can go completely the other way, right? And play the deck that asks the question, can you kill me before you run out of cards? Which I think is very week one sort of place to be. I think it's interesting. You talked about Aurora just then. Aurora was the 10th most played deck at Battle Hardened Tokyo. Only 5 copies showing up, that was the most interesting to me. Nu is more represented. Viserai, which we're going to get to because it had a pretty good showing in Milwaukee as well. Even things like Vincent, Azalea, all had more representation. So yeah, quite interesting to see Aurora so low in Tokyo. Tokyo was won by Enigma. And also very interesting in the top 8. There was 4 copies of Florian in the top 8, including current Pro Tour champion from Amsterdam, Shoma Yamamura, playing Florian as well to a top 4. So I was not expecting that.
Yeah, I think there's a few things surprising there. Aurora not seeing much play is very surprising to me. That deck is really strong. That deck ended my run for the top 8 as well, and has kind of been a bit of a crux for me. I think Aurora is really consistent. It has huge damage output. It's a boogeyman. So for only 5 people to bring it to the tournament and for it to be that underrepresented is interesting. I guess people chose KO over it. People decided that KO had a better plan into the deck to beat, which might be Enigma at the moment. So maybe that's the reason there. And then similar to you, I'm very surprised about how well Florian did in this event and how much it was played as well. I think Florian is a good deck. It's a good Rune Blade. It's a full mid-range deck in that it's able to go really long against fatigue, and then it's able to get a lot of value while blocking and playing super powerful cards versus aggro as well with disruption. So I think Florian is a really good deck, but I haven't found a build that is quite there yet. I was playing Florian for quite a bit, and I was thinking there was a good chance I would play Florian at the Calling last weekend, but I didn't manage to find a build that really got quite there for me.
Yeah, Florian's just been a little bit too fair, is how I would put it. Like, it's just, it does everything. It's a jack of all trades, like you're saying. Like, I think it has game into Enigma, and I'm not surprised that some of the Florians maybe were, someone like Shoma, who's a phenomenal player, beating out some of these Enigmas that are maybe a little bit less prepared for things like, the putting auras on the bottom of your deck, for instance, while decomposing, things like that. What is interesting is Florian had a very good conversion to top 8 rate. But also, so did Aurora. Only 5 copies and 1 made it into top 8 alongside a second copy of Enigma and 1 copy of Vincent. So, pretty interesting top 8, which I think contrasts quite interestingly with the Battle Hardened in Milwaukee, which was 120 old players. Enigma, again, the most played, was the most played, was second most in Battle Hardened. 13 copies there, equal with Nu. So Nu really showing up in the US. And then Aurora was the third most played deck with 10 copies. Yep. But pretty close behind Aurora, interestingly. Azalea, Viserai, Levia. We saw this in Sydney as well. Levia was the most played deck. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Yeah, I think that Livia has some legs. I think that it got some really good tools recently, and Zen was the hardest matchup for it, which has gone away. So I can see it. I can see Livia being good. I think that you are able to do pretty good math. You have a great fridge in your equipment, and you have an incredible late game. Like your late game, if you can flip your hero, is very, very hard to beat. So I can see the deck being good.
So why does it not put any results up?
Well, I don't know. It's brute things, right? Brute always has that issue where there is some variance to it, and it can struggle with that variance. And yeah, I think I wouldn't count it out though. I think that we're gonna see some good Levia results soon.
To be fair, it did make top 8 at Pro Tour Amsterdam, right? In the hands, I
Yeah.
think there was that Kevin Zanka maybe that made top 8 with it. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure. I'm mixing my German
Yeah,
players up.
possibly. I can't quite remember either,
But
but
Livia has made a Pro Tour top 8, which is more than can be said for
yeah.
Reiner. Michael Jaska's happy, and that's the main thing. Yeah, Enigma most played. No, here's a question for you. Where is No for you right now? Because No was, if I think back to the lead up to Pro Tour Amsterdam with the banning or the restriction, sorry, of Zen in terms of hitting it a little bit. Nu kind of looked like maybe the deck to beat, and obviously, did you play Nu at Amsterdam?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah. I played Nu at Amsterdam, and I felt that Nu was the best deck.
I think in Pro Tour Amsterdam, in that format, New probably was the best deck. And the thing to beat it was just such a good, consistent mid-range disruption deck. And yeah, I think that since then, with the banning of Zen completely, I think Enigma's really kind of found its feet there, and I think that makes it a little bit harder for Nu. So Nu is a deck that is really good against most of the aggro decks of the format. Really good against the other mid-range decks, kind of just really good against everything that isn't Enigma, but I think really bad against Enigma. So I think that it's going to struggle in a format where Enigma is the best deck, but as much as you can avoid that, and you do have some game into it, you're going to do really well. So if Enigma's 25% of the field, which is like the upper end of what we can expect it to be, then Nu's going to have good matchups into like 70% of the field. So it's still a really good choice, I think.
yeah. So interesting enough, I guess if we kind of cut to the top 8, so to speak, in the end we have a Bolton, 2 Viserais, 1 Nu actually made top 8, a Verdance, an Enigma, 2 Verdances actually, Enigma, and an Aurora. So a pretty diverse top 8, featuring a lot of arcane damage actually. And interestingly, the final ends up being Viserai. Well, there's a Verdance mirror in the semifinals, and then you have a Viserai and Verdance final, which I don't think many people would have picked. Honestly, Verdance has probably been the hero from the newer set that has looked the weakest, maybe. And Viserai, maybe a lot of tools, but maybe a bit of a surprise over something like Aurora as the choice for Runeblade.
I feel like you just forgot about Acilio there.
Oh, Acilio. Oh, yeah, I did.
Acilio's been the weakest to such an extent that you forgot it existed.
That's very true, I did, yeah.
But I think Verdance definitely has been perceived as a lot weaker than Florian and Aurora than the Runeblades out of the set. So, but there are some. It's going to take a little while for people to come to the best builds, and there are quite a lot of different interesting builds coming out of Verdance, and I think that the heroes got some legs for sure.
There's so many heroes now. There's so many angles to attack on. Like, it's just going to happen for these heroes at some point when people find the right lists or find the right meta for those lists. So, yeah. What do you think about Viserai winning? Viserai is one that has a lot of tools. It was pretty well represented in Milwaukee. It was fairly well represented in Battlehard in Tokyo. And I think, actually, if I look at the Calling in Lyon, like it was actually pretty underrepresented. But the other 2 events is pretty well represented and does win a Battlehard in this past weekend.
Yeah, so I think Viserai is in one of the best spots it's been in a long time. I did some testing for Leon and sort of disregarded it and sort of said, "Yeah, look, it looks pretty good, but I'm beating it. I think I'm okay." And then I saw Brody Spurlock playing Viserai at Lyon, and I was like, "Oh wow, okay, he's come up with some things that I didn't really think of in this deck, and his deck looks smooth." And I was like, "Yeah." After watching that, I think there's some Viserai builds that are going to be very good very soon, and I think that it is a serious deck to watch out for Worlds and for the ProQuest season. I think it's got some legs.
Yeah, I actually did a video just the other day that's up on our Patreon, and I talked about my Viserai list I've been working on, and it's pretty different from Brody's. Like I'm looking at Nebula Blade builds.
Yeah,
I think either build, honestly, after playing games with both, I played some with Brody's as well. I just think that my challenge is just consistency in a deck that, like, I feel like the ceiling isn't quite high enough for it to be warranting those consistency issues. So I do agree. I think we'll see Viserai show up and put up some results. I think just ultimately some of the consistency issues might hit it as kind of something like the Via kind of stems from as well, or suffers from rather. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem like Aurora gives you that kind of Rune Blade damage and split damage style of gameplay with a bit more consistency when you get to make lightning tokens and the such to fix your future turns. So I think of the two decks, Aurora might just be the better Rune Blade, but we'll see.
Let's go on to the main event. Let's talk a bit about the metagame in Lyon. Obviously, you played Enigma. Enigma was the most represented by quite some margin, close to, I think, based on this player count, close to 20%, between 15 and 20% of the meta, which is pretty significant. For a calling, you don't often see anything, maybe one deck over 15%, close to 20% is fairly unlikely. So seeing Enigma there with then KO second most played, Aurora third most played, Azalea fourth, and Nu fifth, that feels like more of a meta I would have expected. I think Enigma is clearly very powerful right now. KO and Aurora trying to maybe combat that to a degree. Azalea even to a degree trying to combat that while also maybe having game into the aggro decks. I wasn't surprised to see Azalea in the final, and I actually thought we might have seen more Azaleas do better. And Nu just got completely wiped, I think, in Lyon, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think going into the event, talking with Tarek, we expected Enigma to be the most played deck, and we expected KO to be the second most played deck. So I think the meta shaped out pretty much what we were expecting. And as you say, I expected. I was talking to Connor, and I was really expecting, like, I really did think he had a really good shot of winning that top 8. Like, I didn't want to play against Azalea all throughout the weekend. That was the one I was trying to dodge, and he landed himself in a top 8 with 4 Enigma decks. Like, I think I think Azalea was a really, really good meta choice for that event.
Yeah, I agree. And to be fair, I think Connor got a little bit unlucky in that in that final match.
Yeah.
But Pablo,
hey, if you're playing against Pablo with his plot armor, it's difficult, right?
Matt Rogers, you can't say anything about plot armor.
Oh, come on.
You got top 8 plot armor these days. Well, to be fair, I think it's
I missed it.
Yeah, but it's some. Well, I think about Singapore, for instance, but I think it's karma, kind of positive karma coming back from your Magic days of always finishing either 2nd or 9th. So there you go.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Taking a look at the top 8, as you said, 4 Enigma in the top 8, a Prism, so 5 Illusionists in the top 8, 1 Verdant, so Verdant showing up again, and Aurora showing up, and Azalea showing up. So time and time again over these top 8s, notwithstanding some of these maybe outliers, Enigma doing very well, Verdant's showing up maybe unexpectedly, Aurora is there and is a deck. Although, in the end, Bartosz, who's a very good player, makes top 8 and ends up losing to Jacob Clements on Enigma. So, not necessarily just a deck that completely destroys, Enigma at all. And I know that's part of the reason you played Enigma.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, my game with him was incredibly close. Like, it came down to pretty much a life or two. I think that matchup is really close, and it can go either way, just depending on who gets a little bit of momentum in the early game there. So I think Aurora is a real deck, and it's got it's a strong aggro choice for the metagame, but I wouldn't say it's an Enigma killer or anything like that.
Yeah. Let's cap it off with some, I guess, meta thoughts with the current way things are shaking out. Maybe an eye towards ProQuest season week 1, which kicks off when this pod drops tomorrow. So very, very soon. This is kind of how I broke it down, and then let me know if you agree or disagree. I had Enigma as the winner of the weekend. Aurora probably showed up about what you'd expect, and then Verdance, I guess, is also a bit of a surprise winner. And then I thought KO was a big loser, had a really poor weekend, and
Massive loser.
yeah, Nu also had a pretty poor weekend considering how many people showed up with it, and then Victor didn't really show up at all.
No, yeah, it's surprising to me that Victor didn't really show up. I guess again it struggles against Illusionist, right? And Illusionist being the top deck makes it really hard. But I think you're so well positioned into the aggro decks of the format. Maybe those Victor gamers are waiting for Dashio to stir everything up so that they can come and prey on them. And maybe for that sort of strategy, Nu was a better choice, or Florian was a better choice for this weekend. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But I think I agree with all of those takes. I think that KO did a lot worse than expected, and KO and Brute gamers in general are going to have to, sort of reassess a little bit. Hey, maybe try out some Levia, maybe go for a different class, or maybe adjust the Brute decks to be better into this current metagame and field.
Yeah,
the KO deck. Sorry.
Yeah. I think KO. If I'm thinking about not just ProQuest week 1, but also the whole ProQuest and the introduction of Cerebellum Processor and the other boost card that I forget the name of. So the 2 cards that people are going to open up their Dash-O Armory deck and grab out. KO, I think people can look to adapt those lists and maybe really try and attack those 2 decks in the meta, I think. Is Enigma just the best deck in the meta right now then? Is that pretty fair to say?
Yeah. Yep, I believe that wholeheartedly. I think Enigma's the deck to beat right now this week.
Yeah, this week. Pause for 2 weeks time.
This week, yeah.
I
think if you're going into your ProQuest this weekend, you need to have a strategy for Enigma. Yeah. I think that's the most important thing. Break down your deck, have a look at your sideboarding, and figure out how you're going to approach that matchup and what needs to happen in the game for you to win it.
Is Vincent a viable option then for this week?
Not really. I think Vincent struggles from consistency issues. I think there's just better Rune Blades right now. But hey, prove me wrong.
I had played 2 Vincents at the Battle Hardened in Sydney actually, and one of them was I thought a very refined build, quite surprisingly for week 0, effectively of the format, and it can put out a lot more consistent damage than it used to, and it's a little bit tougher to play against because of the fact that you can more easy, Malefication, this new card is a pretty significant upgrade, I think, for setting you up the right ways on your turns. So, I don't know, interesting. Maybe it's not good enough to play, but I'm pretty sure it's probably pretty good against Enigma.
Yeah, well, I did test quite a decent amount. Or I at least played a couple of games, and I was winning it on the Enigma side with Reality Refractor. So it is quite different. Obviously, that plan is different to most Enigmas because I don't really care if they blow up all of my auras, and I'm not trying to get multiple auras in play. Yeah. I just need one to attack them for 5, 6, 7, or 8. But yeah, in that strategy, I found the matchup to be fine, and that's kind of why I discounted the deck.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, all right. Put your Vincents to the side. A couple of last questions, I guess. Then, what do we think the metagame is going to be this coming weekend? Do we think it's going to be pretty, on the average ProQuest scene? Do we think it's going to be pretty close to what we saw from Lyon? I would expect Enigma to be the most played. I think the one that might jump up from that Enigma, KO, Aurora, Azalea, new kind of pieces. Azalea to kind of potentially jump up and Nu to drop away would be my kind of maybe take on that. Yeah,
I think I agree with that completely. I think Enigma's going to be the best deck. I think it's going to be the most played across the week. And I think that a lot more people are going to pick up Azalea to counter it. I think Azalea is a great counter for Enigma. Probably the best all-around deck to counter Enigma with right now, so I do expect a lot more people to play it.
You're traveling still, so I'm guessing no ProQuest for you this weekend.
No, unfortunately, none for me this weekend. So I'm in Spiel, which is a big convention over here in Germany. So no Fab this weekend, but I'll be geared up to play as soon as I get home next week.
So if you were going to play this weekend, what would you play?
Enigma. Of course, Enigma. I would play Reality Refractor Enigma, and pretty much the same deck that I played at the Calling. I was really happy with the deck. I think it played out really well. Obviously, I didn't quite make it, but my games were really good, and my losses weren't, my losses weren't my deck falling apart or anything like that. They were really close games, and I think it has a great shot.
It sounds like maybe we think the two best decks are Enigma and Azalea. I'd play Azalea this weekend. I am also traveling this weekend, so
okay.
not going to be playing, but I think I'd play Azalea for basically the reasons you said. I think it's good into Enigma. I think you're fairly good to pretty good into all the aggro decks. Victor is really lowly represented right now. Even Nu, which actually, Nu's not a terrible matchup, but it's not necessarily a great matchup. Isn't floating around as much at the moment. So I actually, and Prism is the lower representative of the two illusionists, right? And you're much better into Enigma, I think. So
yeah,
I'd be picking up Azalea. If you're picking up Enigma, I guess the one big question people who are listening to this pod probably have for Mr. Matt Rogers then is, what's my edge into the mirror as Enigma?
Yeah, so you need to play Sacred Art. You need to play the Majestic. That one is huge in the mirror. I went 6-0 into mirrors and Lyon, and I put that down to having good strategies into if they build a board. I think the most important thing in the mirror is that, like I was playing Spears as a 5 attack go again as well, is being able to clear their board. If they block with headpiece, play a Miragai and put out a board, you have to be able to clear that. So I think in the mirror, you need to be really patient. You don't necessarily want to be the first person to block with your headpiece and play your Miragai, because they can just take a whole lot of damage and then play theirs, and then you end up in a blocking cycle or you lose yours. So yeah, it's you life doesn't matter as much, and you need to be really prepared to be able to clear their board and have a list that is good at going wide. So Astral Etchings was also really good for me. Red Astral Etchings is a must at the moment, I think. For the mirror, if they play out a Miragai and build a big board, even if you don't have headpiece or don't have chi, you can just play in a Miragai with 2 counters, use arm piece or something to make a spectral shield, and then attack, and then put 3 more counters on your Miragai, and it's attacking for 10. So that is the best way to clear their board, and whoever ends up with the chess pieces after the dust is cleared is going to be able to ride their dragons to victory. So
yep. I mean, you said dragons just then. That it reminds me of the Dromo mirror. Reminds me of the Prism mirror. It's all about board control. Yeah. So yeah, makes sense. Cool. All right, Matt. I want to give you, I guess, the closing remarks. Anything you want to add? Where to find you on social media and all those things, and where people can see you next.
Yeah, social media. I try to not be too glued to, so I log into Twitter every now and again, or X, whatever it's called now, maybe once or twice a week. So that's not usually the best place to get me. I'm on Facebook a lot of the time, like the old boomer I am. So messaging me on there is the easiest way to get a hold of me. But yeah, I'm at events. I'm in flesh and blood in the in the flesh and blood in person, and that's where I love to talk to people. So if you see me at an event, come up, say hi. Always keen to meet new people and to be part of these cool big events with people that way. So yeah.
Perfect. All right, Matt. I want to say a massive thank you for coming on the pod, and for everyone out there who's off to ProQuest this weekend, I wish you good luck, whether you're playing Enigma, Azalea, Vinset, whatever you decide to pick up. Let us know. Let us know in the comments. What are we playing this weekend? Or maybe post if you listen to this after the weekend. What did you play? How did you go? Always keen to hear. But until next time, we'll see you in the next episode.
Okay, thanks so much for inviting me on, Matt.